Hello friends, it's Ruben with Hi-Fi MIDI. I feel really bad that I haven't posted anything in about 2 months. I'm going to confess why. I've been thinking about where I want to take this channel, what its purpose is, and how I'm going to do that. A few weeks ago in the early morning, I read a comment that someone posted that was a huge punch in the gut. They said I misrepresented one of the plugins and failed to describe some key features that made it stand up to the competition. They also said they felt some of my videos were contrived and that I was biased toward a certain brand. And you know what? They were right. I felt a little sick about it. It felt good seeing my channel grow and seeing my reviews posted on the company's website, or even getting contacted by these companies. It's not something I really noticed myself doing at first. I'm a people pleaser by nature, and I never like saying anything negative about someone, especially if I know them professionally, so I would tend to stress the positives. However, one of the reasons I made this channel was to help people avoid making mistakes I made when buying a sample library. I've always hated when a company made me feel like I was buying the next best thing to the actual instrument, only to find out it was because you had to tweak a million things on it. So from now on, I'm going to be completely transparent with what I think about a product. I feel that in the end, it helps companies improve on their products, as well as informing you. That being said, today I want to talk about Blakus Cello from Embertone. Some of you asked me why I didn't include this in my last cello VST shootout. That's because I didn't own it. And while this plugin has been out for some time, I thought I should talk about it. Before I continue, I'm going to play a little bit so you can hear what it sounds like. This is a pretty fun instrument. But my first critique of this plugin is that I had some issues with the installation. So I have to add the library from my drive every time I open Contact. Maybe a fresh reinstall will fix that. Next, the plugin is huge. I have it installed on my LaCie 1TB PCIe flash drive, and it still takes a while to load. I recommend at least 8 gigs of RAM if you're going to be using more instruments on your recording. However, many DAWs have a memory saving feature or bounce feature. This plugin also has a low RAM mode, which is useful for those with little memory or CPU power. But one feature that makes this plugin stand out is the vibrato control, which lets you control the depth and speed of the vibrato. This is a step forward in the evolution of virtual instrument humanization. There's actually an iPad app that allows you to control it with your fingers, which is amazing. However, in my opinion, it has a synth-like quality to it in that the rise and fall of the pitch is too perfect or too even when you change it on the spot. I prefer plugins that crossfade between vibrato and non-vibrato samples because those are the sounds of an actual musician playing, and I'll give you an example of that. So here you can assign the depth and the speed of the vibrato. Right here I'm going to use CC14, and it immediately detects it. I'm going to use CC15 for this one. I like a faster vibrato. In my opinion, that's too even. Unfortunately, I wasn't too impressed with the recording quality either. The cello sounds pretty lifeless and at times nasal sounding. While this can be cute, I prefer plugins with beautiful recordings from the get-go. But maybe it's because my ears have grown used to the cinematic EQ of Tina Guo Cello by Cinesamples, which sounds crisp, full, and balanced. I'll give you an example. Oops, I don't have Legato on this. Oh, doesn't go below C. I do, however, love the playability of this plugin. I feel like it has a very tight response to your playing, unlike Tina Guo's. It's nice if you want to play Bach's Cello Suite No. 1 in G, because the notes are so close together and have a seamless transition between one another. Maybe with more reverb. Well, I don't know the rest of it. Anyway, you can also trigger portamento by playing softly. Here's an interesting fact, and I hope someone can correct me or confirm this. There are currently two types of legato programming. The first is where an engineer records each note of an instrument and then records every legato transition so they can be quickly accessed. The other legato involves recording every interval rather than just recording the transition. This one sounds more natural but also has an annoying lag. It sounds like Blakus Cello uses the first, which is why it's so responsive. Tina Guo uses the second, which is why it sounds so expressive. An Embertone gives you a lot for what you pay for. 120 and 125 bucks for the 16 and 24-bit versions, respectively. It includes legato, portamento, consordino, which is muted, sul ponte, which is playing near the bridge, tremolo, pizzicato, staccato, and a cool ensemble feature that multiplies the number of instruments. These can all be key switched too. I'll show you that. And the ensemble follows the rules of what setting you have it in, poly or legato. And this is pretty cool. You can actually combine sordino with sul ponte or sul ponticello. And this plugin has a lot of customization options that give you more control over the parameters so you can edit them while playing or in the MIDI editor window after you've recorded. Here it is in the configure. You can assign these to control wheel. As I said earlier, you can also key switch between monophonic legato and polyphonic sustain. And it is right here. Legato mode off switches to poly. And A switches to legato. But this is where I feel Blakus Cello falls short of being useful for me. I don't speak for everyone, but I feel as though most of us are not going to use a cello plugin to play Bach's Cello Suite or a killer cadenza in our symphony recording. We're either going to use a cello to create a lush, emotional, or ethereal phrase in a song, or use it as a filler. And as agile and customizable as Blakus Cello is, it doesn't have that emotional factor that Tina Guo or even my VSL solo cello has. I'll give you an example of that. It doesn't sound bad, but compare it to this. That's just absolutely breathtaking to me. Let's hear Vienna. Let's hear it as chords. Oops, I don't have my sustain pedal connected, so. Now, if you're wondering why that sounds horrible, that's because I'm using legato and not the long notes. This might sound different. Let's try progressive vibrato. All right, let's try another one. No vibrato. Vienna is one of those that you have to work really hard to get it to sound good. I don't like that one. Progressive. Expressive. Ugh. No, screw that. In my opinion, Blakus does sound better than Vienna instruments. But the Tina Guo just sounds a lot better. And I mentioned this in my last video. I hate that they didn't record past C5. That really, really ticks me off because sometimes it gets so emotional, and I don't mean like I get emotional, but the music gets emotional. And I'm going up here, and I want to keep going, and what the hell? Anyway, I hope they add those samples later on. I'll pay an extra $20 for it. Okay. But going back to Blakus Cello, as much as I wanted to, I just couldn't get myself to want to use it in a recording, especially with my other plugins. Is it a bad plugin? Absolutely not. It's just not for me. I think it's more suited for someone who wants to use it in a fast-moving song with aggressive playing. So based on what I played earlier, you decide which you like better. In my opinion, the Tina Guo sounds more natural. In sustain, the Blakus sounds kind of dull, and in legato, it's not expressive enough. Well, friends, I hope this review was helpful. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't, and leave your comments below. Please feel free to share your opinions about this video. And as always, take care.